You ever wake up one morning thinking, hey, today's the day I'm finally gonna start fresh, only to have your life hijacked by a pack of clipboard-wielding busybodies before you've even had your first cup of coffee? Yeah, that happened. 10 days before I set foot on my family's old lake lodge, the county map, my map, got redrawn, just like that. Quietly, sneakily, like a magician's trick, only the rabbit in the hat was my land. And poof, now it belonged to someone else on paper anyway. So there I was, standing on the shoreline at Pine Hollow Lake, the world as still as a held breath. Not a sound except the water and the groan of old timber under my boots. I'd just finished 15 years of busting my back on dam sites out west. Always noise, always dust, always one slip from disaster. Now I'm here, where the fog lifts off the lake like it's undressing for the day, the pine trees so quiet it almost makes you suspicious. I dropped my duffel by the porch, stretched, tried to let the peace in. Didn't last. Not 5 minutes before I heard them, heels stomping on wet dirt, a sound with all the subtlety of a fire drill. There she was, hair pulled so tight it could keep the world spinning, coat so bright I could see it through the fog, clipboard tucked under her arm like a police badge. Meline Straught. Didn't know her name yet. Didn't need to. The glare told me everything. The kind of person who talks first, listens never. You, she snapped, voice sharp enough to shave bark off a tree. You can't begin construction without HOA approval. This whole area is under our jurisdiction. She might as well have told me the sky was plaid. I blinked, tried to offer a good morning, but she plowed right through it, jabbing a stack of papers in my face. The papers rattled, not from nerves, but from pure, practiced outrage. She listed my supposed crimes: unapproved dock maintenance, unauthorized lumber delivery, shoreline violation, and I'd been there. What, an hour? Maybe? I just stared at her, took another sip of coffee, let the steam warm my fingers while she cooled hers on that legalese. Ma'am, I said, I'm just unloading my truck. Wrong answer. That's construction, she barked back. Violates Article D, Section 12, of the Pine Hollow Lakeside HOA Charter. You are in violation and subject to immediate fines. Her voice was climbing, veins showing in her neck, eyes daring me to challenge her authority. I felt the irritation crawl up my spine, but I kept my cool. Years of dam work teaches you not to flinch when the water's rising. I told her, I think there's been some mistake. This property isn't under HOA jurisdiction. She blinked. Offense, not surprise. Everything on the eastern shore is under HOA jurisdiction. We expanded boundaries for environmental compliance. It's all here. She shoved the papers so close I finally had to take them, just to get my personal space back. Fresh print, red marker lines all over it, drawing little boxes around my lodge, my dock, my driveway. Everything suddenly claimed. How can you own land my family's held since 1934? I asked. She wasn't ready for pushback. Not this early, not from someone who looked like he might actually know what the hell he was talking about. We own what we say we own, she snapped. You don't comply, we pursue removal. Removal? On my first morning. Before breakfast. Before I'd even unpacked a single tool. The fog peeled back from the dock, and for a second, I saw what my grandfather must have seen, standing right where I was now. Quiet lake, strong wood. Mountains holding the world steady behind it all. All these years, untouched by drama, and suddenly someone's desperate to draw lines around what's never been theirs. She got in my face again, told me the lodge was a liability, stop all activity. Meline, is it? I tried. Mrs. Straught, she corrected, chin up. Why are you so desperate to control this one old lodge? Her jaw locked, eyes flicked for just a heartbeat toward the water, like something out there was waiting for her signal. Right then, I knew this wasn't about construction or bylaws. It was about something the lake was hiding, something my lodge was standing on top of. The wind shifted. The lake, hell, the whole place, felt like it was holding its breath. When she left, stomping back up the shoreline, her presence lingered like cold steel in the air. I folded the suspicious evidence and tucked it into my jacket. You know, when you've spent years on jobs where you look for cracks before they become disasters, you get a sixth sense about things that don't add up. These new boundaries on the map? Too clean, too bold, too convenient. Didn't even get a chance to finish my coffee before the phone buzzed. Unknown Montana number. I almost let it go. Almost. Mr. Mercer? Clara Pennington, Pine County Clerk's Office. Voice young, but with that clipped, no-nonsense tone of someone who's seen too many government filings. Sorry to call so early. We saw an HOA boundary update filed last week. Just wanted to confirm before we lock it into the system. She sounded cautious, like someone was listening on her end. A jurisdiction expansion includes several parcels on the East Shore, including yours. I stared at the lodge, sunlight catching on moss and old cedar. That land's not under HOA control, I said. Exactly why I'm calling. The document was submitted 10 days ago. Signature doesn't match the usual officer. We're reviewing if it's legitimate. She lowered her voice even more. Mr. Mercer, did you authorize any of this? No, ma'am. And the HOA president just showed up using that map as a weapon. Silence. I could almost hear her fingers tapping a desk. Thought so. Filing felt rushed, forced. First time they've redrawn boundaries without public notice. Submission done after hours, through an unusual portal. I chewed on that, replaying the way Meline gripped those papers, the panic in her eyes when I questioned her. This wasn't random, was it? No. Someone wanted your land under HOA rule before you set foot on it. The wind picked up, pines whispering along the shore. What are they hiding? I muttered. Clara just sighed. Wish I knew. I'll keep digging. Hung up, phone heavier than it should be. 10 days. Forged signature. HOA boss showing up like she'd been tracking my truck on Google Maps. I walked down to the dock, boards creaking underfoot, water lapping gentle as a heartbeat. If only my chest felt as steady. Ran my fingers along grooves my grandfather carved by hand. This was supposed to be a simple life, a place to rest. Now someone wanted to wipe that clean with a red marker. Then, growl of an engine. Dark SUV sliding slow down the road, windows black as a lie. Didn't stop. Didn't need to. Threat hung in the air anyway. I stood on that dock long after it was gone, feeling the lake holding its breath, knowing, if someone's willing to forge maps, time their strike for the day I arrive. This lodge wasn't just real estate. It was leverage. It was power. And someone decided it needed to be theirs. But here's the thing about working with pressure all your life. It doesn't break you. It sharpens you. If the HOA thought a stack of fresh printed lies would make me run, they didn't know what kind of man they were dealing with. I turned up the gravel path, boots crunching, head clear, already plotting my next move. Next morning, no peace. Opened the lodge door to a bright yellow envelope nailed to the railing. Notice of violation. Bold red letters. Immediate action required. They accused me of everything from construction noise to improper storage. All supposedly on HOA property. The phrase was underlined 3 times. As if writing it enough could make it true. Phone buzzed. Sheriff Nolan Briggs. Heard they're starting early. Call if it gets out of hand. That alone told me plenty. The sheriff had seen this kind of cornered animal act before. 2 more SUVs, rolling slow past my property, windows angled right at me, moving in a circle, not stopping, just letting me know I was being watched. I muttered, harassment season, right on schedule. Wasn't even unpacked when a knock rattled the door. A fast, impatient rhythm. Neon-vested inspector with a clipboard, smile painted on like cheap wallpaper. We've had complaints of environmental interference. I stared at him. Complaints from who? The HOA, of course. You see any violations out here? He shifted, clearly regretting his career choices. Sir, I have to check for leaks, hazardous storage, or what? Or the HOA keeps calling until someone checks a box. He blinked, stammered. I'm just following the checklist. Follow away, but you're not setting foot inside without a county warrant. He swallowed, backed off. No warrant, sir. Then I'll save you the trouble. Everything here's up to code. I spent 15 years in compliance. I know the law better than the HOA knows how to spell it. He left so fast he nearly sprayed me with gravel. Lake watched, silent and silver. Another car came by, a minivan this time. Woman leaned out, voice soft. Sorry about them. HOA's been intense lately. Watch yourself, mister. She rolled on, but her words stuck. By noon, 3 more violation notices on my porch. Language all over the place, signatures mismatched, some bylaws totally made up. I boxed every single one, labeled the lid. Evidence. HOA harassment. As if that could anchor me while the wind off the lake tried to tear something loose in my chest. That afternoon, Sheriff Briggs appeared at the dock, brown jacket heavier than usual. Eyes carrying too many years of seeing the same mistakes made over and over. "You hear about the notices?" he asked. "I hear everything," he said. "Especially when that board stirs up dust." I asked why they were so set on my lodge. Briggs scuffed a pebble. "Because your shoreline's strategic. Always has been. They want it. And they're not used to being told no." The wind spat cold mist. "What exactly are they afraid I'll find?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just said, "Be careful, Mercer. Folks hide their worst secrets in pretty places." He walked away, warning hanging in the air like a storm about to break. Later, when I finally took a breath, I followed my gut down to the water. The lake was low, lowest in years. Something metallic flashed beneath the dock. Old, riveted, military-grade steel, nothing you'd ever see on a homeowner's repair. Buried deep, holding up the whole structure, never mentioned by my grandfather or anyone else. That wasn't an accident. A whisper behind me, Clara Pennington, county clerk. She brought a folder. 1934 survey, my grandfather's name stamped everywhere, and a deed for the submerged land. Not just the shore, the lakebed. That's why the HOA wanted this so bad. Whoever controlled the lakebed controlled the docks, the boat slips, the property values. It was never about bylaws. It was about power, money, and the right to say who got to live on the water and who didn't. From up the hill, I caught sight of another SUV, camera lens pointed right at me. Clara saw it too. "They've been circling all morning," she whispered. "Like they're waiting for something. Or watching for something." I answered. She warned me. "You own the controls they depend on. That makes you dangerous to them." The next move came at night. I heard it, gravel shifting, feet trying not to be heard. 2 board members by the dock, flashlights out, tape measures and cameras. I stepped out, made my presence known. They jumped like I'd shot at them. Claimed to be performing a safety inspection. At midnight. I didn't bother raising my voice. Policy doesn't allow trespassing. The sheriff's headlights flashed through the trees. He told them to get off my land or face charges. They ran, boots flapping, car engine howling. Only then did I realize how rattled they were, rattled enough to get careless. Storm rolled in. Derek Hall, my attorney, showed up drenched, grumbling about never seeing a property dispute that didn't bring trouble with it. We sat at the kitchen table, laid out the old deed, the maps, the proof. "You don't just own the lodge," he said, tapping the survey. "You own everything beneath this side of the lake. Their expansion? Worthless. Their fines? Void. Their whole racket falls apart. Why'd they risk forgery?" I asked. He just smiled. "Without your shoreline, their whole east side tanks. It's not pride. It's survival." The plan was simple. Take it public, hit them where they couldn't hide, at the HOA meeting, in front of every homeowner. The night of the meeting, the hall was packed. Melline Straude, cool and crisp in a suit, stood at the podium. Tried to paint me as a squatter, a troublemaker. But when Derek and I rolled out the old survey, the real deed, the county-stamped authentication, the room shifted. Gasps, then anger. Melline tried to bluff, but the crowd turned. Projected side by side, the original boundary and her forged expansion, anyone could see the lie. A portal log tied the fake map to Melline's user ID. Clara confirmed it. Board members stepped away from her, as if the guilt was contagious. Sheriff Briggs stepped in. "This is a county issue now. Fraud, intimidation, trespassing. All HOA authority suspended pending investigation." I took the mic, not to gloat, but because people needed the truth. "I'm not here to take your docks or ruin your homes. I just want what's right." The oldest homeowner, Bentley Carr, called out, "What happens now?" I said, "That depends on what we do together, honestly and legally." The room, shaken, scared, but listening, finally exhaled. By next morning, Pine Hollow was quiet. No HOA patrols. No fake violations. The lake looked almost at peace. Homeowners drifted by, one by one, worried but hopeful. Bentley showed up, cane in hand, asking if I was there to take away their docks. "No, sir. We'll fix this. Together." That evening, the community gathered at my dock. I promised permanent easements for every homeowner, fair and unbreakable. Any fees would go to restore the lake, not line anyone's pockets. Some cried, some laughed, all of them relieved. Sheriff Briggs even cracked a smile. "Sometimes the lake chooses the right owner," he said. Night fell with the sound of fireflies and loons. I stood on the dock, feeling the weight of the old deed, the fight, the truth that had surfaced at last. The water was calm. For the first time since I arrived, I felt a peace that was earned, not handed to me. Turns out, owning the land under their docks was enough to sink the whole HOA. If you've ever had to stand your ground against someone trying to steal what's yours, drop a justice in the comments. What does justice even look like, anyway? Is it about papers or doing right by your neighbors? Share your story below. Let's talk about what's fair and what you do when someone draws a line across your life and tells you to step back. And if you want more stories where the truth comes out in the end, stick around. Next time, I'll tell you about the fight that came after this one. There's always another storm brewing, you know what I mean? 4.